Welcome back to Elysium. When we'd left off, we had just fought a rather disastrous, well maybe not so disastrous, war with Spartania, Britain, plus Portugal, and Spain. I feel like we came out more on top than we went into the war though. We took all of the Spanish land in the Colombia/Venezuela region. We also took large portions of the Caribbean. In fact, we now control nearly all the Caribbean except for a few locations. As you can see, there's quite a few revolts, so we're immediately gonna use what's left of our mercenary armies to deal with them. We're also very close to actually sealing off Elysium from foreign access. Once that's done, we can begin to look outward. There, the situation is now stabilized. You'll notice I have a decision to enact. I'm holding off on reforming the Hellenic faith for the moment. In fact, let's hide it for a bit. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Next, we need to increase our trade power within the Caribbean to 66%. We're already pretty close, so let's have our navy protect trade in the region. That might be enough to push us over the edge, but I feel like it won't be enough. Let's have a look. Oh, that was enough. Pushed us exactly to 66. We can now complete this mission. This lets us build a advancement, but we can choose where we want to build it. We can build it anywhere within the Caribbean region. I guess we'll throw it down here, and there you can see it. We've put it in our vassal's land. We're not going to be building it for the moment. It's not a big deal. The next thing we need to do is get our trade income to 100, or we need to have the Bay of Elysium be the most valuable trade market in the world. That's a little difficult. Our trade value there is currently 57. If we compare that to Europe, for example, Genoa's at 61. It wouldn't be that much for us to increase it a few points up to past Genoa. The problem is we can't see, well, we can see, I guess. We can see what's going on in China. It doesn't look like there's much trade value going on in Asia here. So if we can pass Genoa, we could achieve things. And it'd be great if we could, because if we can get Elysium to be the most valuable trade market in the world, it means we could spawn global trade. I'm not sure we'll be able to though. Let's see. Oh, something's happened over in Genoa's trade node. Maybe these pirates. No, I don't think so. But their trade value has dropped down to only 49, while our trade value is currently at 53. So we're going to be able to complete this mission, and we might even get global trade to spawn at the monthly tick. This might help as well because it's going to increase the trade power and trade value of every province in our trade node. Now we can go down even further and begin walking the blue path. This will lock both the red and green paths until we get this mission here when we become a hegemony. The blue path also changes a few things. We become a maritime empire, giving us a merchant, but decreasing our manpower growth, which is something we don't like. Also increasing army maintenance, but increasing our colonial range, our envoy travel time, and our naval limit. Also making a bunch of things available. We can manage our trade good discovery rate. We can create protectorates in Asia and Africa. We gain a CB against anyone who isn't a great power and is African, Indian, Chinese, etc. And we can build the Grand Canals earlier. One of the things we are going to need to do is build the Panama Canal. Before we do anything, let's manage our trade good discovery rate. So we can select trade goods and modify the chance that they appear, I believe, by quadrupling it. Well, let's say we want gold to spawn. We'd like to find gold. Gold is nice. Do we want to change anything else? I'm not sure how it really works. I guess let's pick one for each of the different kinds of good. Let's pick wine. For our cash crops, let's go with coffee. Coffee's always nice. For our luxuries, let's go with spices. And for our textiles, dyes. Probably not the optimal way to do that, but that's the way we're going to do it. Now, to continue down our mission tree, we need to get over to Asia and begin colonizing and subjugating the peoples there. Since Elysium's pretty much secure, there's no problem with us starting to leave the continent. The only parts of land that aren't still colonized by us and are accessible by vile colonists are up here in what is Alaska and the Cascadia region. So we're pretty good on that front. No reason for us to not head abroad. The first places we're likely going to establish our protectorates in is Hawaii. Once we colonize Midway, we should be close enough that it won't be very difficult to get these guys to just accept becoming our protectorates. We'll start improving relations with them in preparations for that. And there's the global trade. Exactly as planned and hoped. Although it didn't spawn in Elysium itself, it spawned a little north. I suppose that's fine though. There we go, our first protectorate is online. Protectorates are very good at transferring trade and other resources. These small Hawaiian ones aren't going to be of much value, but other ones that we create will be. And these guys can actually be quite useful as vassals. We can call them into our wars, which does sound a bit overpowered, doesn't it? But unlike normal vassals, we have to call them in via spending our relations with them, and they can only be called in as if they are loyal. Thankfully, it's quite easy to keep them loyal, as they don't tend to use each other's strength when looking at their strength versus ours. They look at themselves as individuals. We'll see how many people we can peacefully protectorate in Asia. It looks like Japan might have unified, which is a bit unfortunate. If they fail to unify it, it's quite easy to pacify the Japanese tribes, or clans I should say. And there we go, Elysium is sealed. No one can get into the continent except through these two native tribes, but we're going to vassalize them and then integrate them, solidifying our control and protecting Elysium from the ne'er-do-wells who would dare threaten it. Now, we're actually going to switch out our development ideas, since we're going to be colonizing a fair bit outside of Elysium for the moment. We're going to click the Look Beyond decision, which immediately replaces our development ideas with the exploration ideas, which are more focused to colonizing outside of Elysium. So what's the situation like here in Asia? We've got a big Manchu, we've got a big Shun as usual, Wu exists. Brunei has actually colonized a fair bit and even has colonized Taiwan. At the very least, it doesn't look like there's any colonizers here just yet. Oh dear, I didn't notice this. The Ottomans have actually shown up in Indonesia. That's a bit of an annoyance. We'll need to fight them and take their land, but it should be a simple conflict. We won't do it right now, but since it's just for some islands, we might be able to beat them just by massing a larger navy. But now we're going to continue subjugating the other nations here. We've subjugated quite a few. We're close to subjugating Sundar here and the other nations in Java. One thing I do avoid is actually allying with these people, because being allies for some reason doesn't increase their likelihood to accept subjugation, though it does of course increase their opinion. Oh, and would you look at that, Vijayanagar of all nations is colonizing Australia. Oh, and on an unrelated note, another one of our cultures has spawned. This one in the Central America area. Welcome to the world. Always nice to see a new culture. There we go, the Javans have submitted, as they rightfully should. They're going to help us make quite a bit of money. We're going to need to begin setting up a trade chain, pushing trade over from Asia up through the Panama Canal likely, into the Caribbean, and then finally to the Bay of Elysium. Not going to be perfect for a while, but it'll have to do. We do need to subjugate Brunei, and we subjugate everyone else pretty much in the region. As I said, we do need to subjugate Brunei. They control most of the Philippines, which we need to get the majority of control in. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to subjugate them peacefully. They're just too strong, or at least they have too much development. So I think we're going to pull over a large regiment, well, the 2nd Regiment of Elysium, because it's not like we have many soldiers. Although, I guess we could just hire mercs, throw down a cheeky 40,000 men in our colonies here. Maybe that's better. Leave our actual manpower at home. We do have a bit of a deficit right now, just because I've gone a little crazy with the colonies, but that's a problem that will kind of solve itself as the colonies are completed. Speaking of which, I think it's time we reform the Hellenic faith. There are 4 options here. We can choose a god to prioritize, there being bonuses of course based on the one we pick, and then a new plethora of gods made available. We can stick with our current option, that being Hellenicism Undivided, which will keep everything as it is essentially. One of the reasons I hold off doing this is because we have access to Poseidon with the normal pantheon, which increases global settler rate, but we've reached a point where global settler rate doesn't really matter as much because we've done a lot of our colonizing. Personally, I like worshipping Apollo as our primary god. Not only does he give us 2 diplomatic reputation, which helps with subjugating people, as the rate of which they accept is influenced by our diplomatic reputation, but the gods we're allowed to worship through him are also pretty good. Apollo himself decreases unrest by 3 and increases average monarch lifespan. Orpheus decreases diplomatic annexation cost by an extra 15. Our diplomatic annexation cost is currently at minus 55, though to be fair, 15 of that is from a parliamentary issue. But even so, it will rack it up even higher, and once we eventually grab the admin ideas, we'll be able to slap another 15 on there. So our goal of getting really high diplomatic or I should say really low diplomatic annexation costs is well within sight if we go with Apollo. So I think we'll do just that. We'll go with Apollo. Another great god to worship is, of course, Perseus here, who decreases the core creation cost by 15%. But yes, let's deal with Brunei. We're going to call up some mercs. Let's just say the Independent Merc Company. We'll call them up in our colony here, give them a general. Then we'll declare war with the Overseas Expansion CB. This lets us forcibly subjugate them and turn them into a protectorate. We'll also call in some of the people in the region who may be of assistance. Since we have all these vassals now, we may as well use them, right? Right, this should be a simple affair. We are 2 techs ahead of the Burmese. We are 2 techs ahead of the Bruneians. We are 2 mil techs ahead of Brunei. So I doubt they'll be able to really stop us. It's just a matter of rolling over them. They also don't have any allies. That also weakens them when compared to us. There we go. Brunei subjugated. We'll take some money from them. We'll immediately tell them to start transferring their trade to us, allowing us to complete our first mission. We are now allowed to annex our imperial protectorates within some of these regions. Our colonial concessions CB expands to further parts of Asia. And we also gain the option to claim the Australia colonial region. We also reach the first tier of this branch. Tier 1, which allows us to propagate our religion through our merchants, and we gain access to 5 decisions that we must complete in order to get to the next mission on this branch. And we've been able to protectoratify Diviet. That's great. That gives us a foothold on the continent, something we were sorely lacking. We're actually in a pretty good position to start subjugating some of these Chinese nations here, which is, as you can imagine, excellent. They're quite strong, which makes them good vassals to call into wars, and they'll also provide us with trade power within the Chinese region, letting us divert the trade back to Elysium. One thing that is quite annoying is that we can see the coast, but we can't see inland. Luckily, we can go to our vassals and just say, you know, give us the maps. I want to see what's going on inside of China. It does mean we need units in the area though, but luckily again we can just hire a unit inside of our vassals' lands, and now we can request those maps. So let's see what's going on in southern China. We've got Xi here. They're quite big and powerful. Might be hard subjugating them. Ning though, they're very weak. If we just ally with them right now, they should accept subjugation. Who's actually the head of China? It's actually still Ming, even though they're really tiny. Let's ally with Ming as well. We should be able to subjugate them. They're not far off accepting subjugation. Let's see what's going on in North China. Pretty much just Shun dominance up here. We've also got Xi though. Maybe we can get them to accept. They're quite more developed than I might thought they were. So maybe not. We'll see, I guess. The Ming at least have fallen into line. The Empire of China now follows its correct masters. Let's get vision of Indochina. As we can imagine, these guys here are pretty big. They usually are though. We're going to need to subjugate them. It might be easy though. We could probably just call up mercenaries, and we could always just call in our Chinese vassals. They might be able to just do it themselves. I somewhat doubt it though. Unfortunately, they've subjugated most of the nations in this region and made them their protectorates or tributaries, so we can't do that to them. So at the very least, we'll definitely need to break their tributary status with these guys by subjugating them so we can subjugate them ourselves. I'd really like to subjugate Wu here, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to peacefully. We'll ally with them for now. That will make it a little harder to increase their willingness to accept vassalization, but if we gain favors and trust with them, that actually makes it easier. So we'll play a bit of a long game with Wu. Xi and Shun are pretty much never going to accept peaceful vassalization though, so we'll need to go to war with them. There's also Japan, of course. Japan isn't actually that strong. Problem is, you know, getting into them. Oh, and there's Korea as well. Almost forgot about them. I am trying to build up a bit of a bank so I can build the Panama Canal. For that reason, I am a little hesitant in spending a lot of money on a conquest, at least at this exact moment. We're going to need around 20k to build that Panama Canal, but once we reach it, we can easily just get out our wallet and start mass spending. What's the situation in Tibet, do you think? Woo, well, we got a big Changatai over in Tibet. Bengal's also stretched up. We do have one surviving state though, and is that Bhutan? Yeah, it is. They've managed to come into existence. Definitely respect that. There, we've managed to subjugate Wu. That gives us near complete control of China. There's just Xi and Shun who still defy us. As discussed, we're unlikely ever going to be able to... I mean, I don't know. We're actually doing quite well on Xi's relationship. If we ally with them and trustify them like we did with Wu, we should be able to bring them round. Over in India, though, it's much more of a mixed bag. Those are quite a few big states that we're unlikely to be able to subjugate. I think we could also get Bengal. The problem is they're currently a tributary of these guys. We've almost got enough money to the point where we can build the canal. Once that happens, the saving money strats are off and we can start thinking about fighting again. We've done it. We'll begin construction of the Panama Canal. Took a little while, but it's done. Well, it's not done, but it's going to be done. That's one of the things we had to do in order to finish the Blue Branch. So I kind of prioritized it. Before we turn to Asia, one thing I want to do is cut down to size this very large native tribe here. We actually have vassalized one of the nations that has a bunch of cores on them, so I'd like to at the very least return those. So it's time for the actual army of Elysium to see some combat. We'll declare a reconquest war to return those aforementioned cores. This should be pretty easy. They're very weak. Well, not very weak, but we're quite strong and we control a lot of the region. Our vassals will also, of course, help out. Ooh, it looks like Britain has decided to attack our colony over in Australia. Which province is the war goal? Is it this one? It is this one. Well, all right. Our colony is stronger than them in the region. And overall, we're somewhat stronger. We can also call in some of our friends in Asia to help, although maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Britain has integrated Portugal, which means they have complete control of the Portuguese vassals, and there's quite a few of them in South America. Our guys down there are probably going to be a bit outnumbered. I'm going to call up a mercenary band. We'll call them up in the Panama Canal. Hopefully the 40,000 men can help our vassal in the region defend themselves. I was planning to continue the war with the natives a little longer. I was actually planning to try and full annex some of these smaller tribes, but with the situation like this, it's probably better to make peace sooner rather than later now. The British have forced my hand. And on another note, another colonial culture has appeared, this one in the far east of the nation. Unfortunately though, they have the same colour as our primary culture, so it's kind of hard to make them out, but they are there. Wouldn't it be funny if mid-war Spartania declared war on us? They definitely match us in numbers, but surely that won't happen, right? At the very least, we're really just throwing the English around. Probably won't be long before they start considering a white peace. Although personally, I'd kind of prefer to drag the war out a bit, see if we can't take some of their colonies off them. Aha, and now Spain has declared war on us. Also for land in Australia, but I don't think they have a colony here. Or, yeah, they do. They have these two little colonies here, but that's not a lot. They definitely don't have a colonial nation. I'm a little surprised they're trying this. Oh well. It might end up just being a white peace war, like whether we don't really fight the Spanish because they're just not really in position. They definitely don't like us though. Spain seems to take any opportunity they can to declare war on us, whether it benefits them or not. We've got our next idea group. Normally I would say let's go for religious or admin, but we've had a pretty bad string of admin rulers and we're going to have another bad one coming up. So I'm thinking instead, since we have an abundance of mill, and we're going to have more, let's grab a mill idea. I guess we'll go for offensive. Honestly, I should probably go quantity, but I refuse to go quantity. It's one of my house rules, so we won't. We'll just keep stacking military strength and eventually overcome our enemy. All right, let's piece out the natives. We're not going to be able to take as much, well, we could take more if we continued the war, but I just want to focus on the English, and it's not like the natives are going anywhere, right? So we'll take these few provinces. All right, Britain's had enough. We'll demand a bit of Brazilian territory because we do control a bit of Brazilian land here. So taking this will allow us to create a colonial nation. It'll also give us access to the untamed Brazilian interior, which we'd like to grab for colonial purposes. We'll also demand they hand over all of their land in Australia. It's the least they can do. And there we go. Just got rid of them. We're still at war with Spain, but we haven't seen hide nor hair of Spain since the war started. I'm not even really sure if we will see them. I suppose if we demand anything, it'll be their colonies in Australia. I guess they have a bit of land down in South America we could take, but that's about it. They don't even really have any colonies in Asia, and in Africa they only have this one location. I suppose they are an Aragonese Spain, so they're not very colonial focused, but that's kind of a good thing. It means we can just take them out and then not worry about them, or at least until we inevitably invade Europe. We won't have to worry about them. Alright, good war Spain, or I'd like to say good war, but we've never actually seen the Spanish. They never showed up, we never fought a single battle, and I guess we just win. We'll take all of their lands in South America. We'll take the 2 locations they have in Australia, and then we'll take that little colony they have in Africa. Not really sure why they declared war or what they were hoping to achieve, but I hope they did what they were hoping to do. Of course, the Spanish colony in South America will spawn some soldiers immediately. So we'll hire the Varangian Guard and have them head south and deal with them. Thinking about it, maybe I should be mercenary maxing since I have so much money after all. We've only achieved one of the 4 things we need to achieve to complete this mission. We haven't done very well on this mission at all. We need to subjugate large portions of Africa, either the west coast or the east coast. But we haven't been able to. We've got a big Kilwa here who we've got to deal with. Maybe we'll do just that. We'll hire a bunch of mercenaries here in South Africa where we hold sway, and then we'll just fight Kilwa and subjugate them. They are allied to both the Ottomans and Spain though, so maybe that's not a viable option. To be fair, we are going to have to fight the Ottomans for their colonies over in Asia, so maybe we should fight the Ottomans first. Grab those colonies, destroy their navies when they try and stop us, and then we could force them perhaps to break their alliance with Kilwa. They're also allied with France though. I mean, the French aren't too strong in this world. It feels like we're going to have to fight lots of people to do anything. We of course also need to subjugate Japan. That's a thing. They are still very weak though. Maybe we should just get that out the way. I'd love to subjugate the Manchus, but for some reason, due to the fact that the Manchus are in the nomadic technology group, they can't be subjugated in the way that other nations can be in Asia. Definitely feels like a bit of an oversight. But it's a very minor thing though. We have also colonized pretty much everything outside of America now, or Elysium I should say. So it's about time we redirect our colonizing focuses back internally. So we'll see about that. We do need to be careful with this radical sympathizers disaster. So we can't be at war with natives for too long, but I am thinking we should start focusing on dealing with them now. Since we've secured the continent, there's not really a big issue. We can just slowly colonize up to the natives, then destroy them. But as I said, this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Things haven't gone as well as I thought they would. I definitely thought we would have done a lot better. Shows that I maybe should have done this before I recorded it so that I had some experience, but that's basically cheating. It's more fun to just experience things as they go, right? And so I'll see you next time.